Hi there folks, RJ Beam here, and today I will be reviewing Fire on the Fens by Joy Ellis. Welcome back to Premeditated Fiction. I am RJ Beam, and today we are reviewing the book Fire on the Fens by Joy Ellis, which is a story that when I saw the cover, I thought, oh, this is one I gotta read. And I know you're not supposed to judge a book by the cover, but when you see a cover that's like this giant fireball with this person kind of in silhouette standing in front of it, almost looks like they're walking away, maybe running away, the way the arms are kind of out, you think, okay, this could be interesting. Then again, I might be biased. I have a background as a fire and arson investigator, so when I see books about that topic, I tend to be drawn to them. All right, so this particular story takes place in England and is in an area of England. I had to look it up. I was interested when I started reading the description. I'm like, what is this? The Fens is an area that used to be some swampland that apparently a few hundred years ago was drained and irrigated, turned into some pretty cool little farming communities. So the location itself is almost like a character in the story, and it seems like for this particular author, this is a series. This is the latest book in a series of stories that takes place in the Fens. So yes, the location actually is more or less a minor character in the story itself. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with a lot of British policing operations. It's not that I read mysteries to nitpick police operations or not, but working in law enforcement, having that background, a lot of times when I'm reading mysteries, that is something I look at is how close are they to the reality, which I think is one of the things that draws me into a lot of cozies, is because then I can be a little bit more free with the story because you're looking at amateur sleuths. This particular story is definitely not a cozy. It deals with a couple of detective investigators. They're working a number of different kind of cases like real detectives do, which was one thing I really liked about this case, that there was a couple different things that they were working at the same time. The serial arsonist, which is kind of the central plot of this story, is kind of their main case, but there's a couple other things going on that the local police have to deal with. A couple of hoodlums, a couple of local kids causing a fight with some folks from a church. Turns out that the church happens to, they're not Satanists, they Luciferians is the term that they use. So they're not like they're devil worshippers sacrificing people, but they have a different religious look that they're going for. Of course, the cases start to kind of bleed together at a few spots. Which makes it kind of interesting. I really enjoyed how this book was laid out and put together. There's this mystery of who's setting these fires, and then suddenly somebody dies, and then somebody else dies, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, we have to stop this arsonist before they kill other people. But what is their end game here? And at first, the victims seem very random. There's no connection to them. And eventually, when the connection is created, you start to realize that the serial arsonist has an end game, which makes it, kind of that, okay, now the whodunit. There's one point when I was pretty sure, like, this is who did it, and there was a few little hints and things throughout the story that made you think, nope, that's not the person who did it. And I was set though. I'm pretty sure this is how it's going to go, and then eventually it starts to kind of veer someplace else, and I'm like, oh no, this is the way it's going to go. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but really well laid out as it relates to plot and as it relates to throwing a couple hints, throwing a couple possibilities of who our arsonist could be, and it turns into a situation where by the end reveal, I was satisfied, and I would think most readers would be very satisfied also as to who the final arsonist is and how this plot came together. A lot of the procedures seem to be pretty point on. Again, I'm not an expert in British police procedure, but looking at the author's bio, the author is married to, or actually I don't remember if they're married or if they're just dating, but the author does have a partner who is a retired police officer. So I'm sure that there is some banter back and forth between the author and their spouse about how would this happen, and that's just always great to have that little bit of knowledge, especially when I'm reading a book, I really like getting those little tidbits that I know are some inside information. There's even some dialogue in this book that came from a real conversation somewhere at some point in time, that is just being kind of edited and massaged and fit into the story in such a way that that it's something that was said or something that really happened to an officer, and this author is able to kind of drop that into their story just as a good little joke or a good little part of the plot that helps move it along. All right, so if you're looking for something interesting in the world of fire and arson, definitely this Fire on the Fens would be a great book to pick up. And I do have to point out that Jaffe Books did provide a copy of this book for me through NetGalley for free for this unbiased review. All right, until next time, I'll talk to you later.